Hey everyone, before we start today's video, don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel. Make sure you share the channel with your friends and comment on today's video. Thanks so much for watching. Always yours, Foster Princess. Hey guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. This is my first ever video and I wanted to dedicate it to the Johnny Depp trial. In my opinion, it was the highlight of the year and since this year it's about to wrap up, I thought it'd be very appropriate to just go ahead and stream the trial before the new year. So we're gonna do that and I'm going to give y'all reactions. I want y'all's reactions. If you can, please comment down below so you can let me know what y'all think. We're gonna be talking about a lot of things in this trial, but anyways, I wanted to go ahead and get started with that and we'll go from there.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
There we go.
All right. Your first witness?
I've been wanting to do a
Kristen
reaction
Zambrowski.
to
All right, Kristen Zambrowski.
trial for a long time, and I finally got all my equipment that I needed to go ahead and start doing that. So
okay, Kristen Zambrowski.
I'm really excited to share this with you guys and be with y'all while we go through this together.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm to testify truthfully in this case under penalty of law?
You have to verbally answer, ma'am. Okay, thank you.
I haven't watched this entire trial fully because I wanted to save parts with y'all to react with them with y'all.
Yes, sir.
One of them is
Good afternoon, Ms. Dombrowski.
Testimony.
Would you please state your full name for the record?
Elisa Christine Dombrowski.
Ooh, I like that name, Elisa.
Ms. Dombrowski, what relationship, if any, do you have with Johnny Depp?
He's my younger brother.
How much older are you than Johnny?
2.5 years.
Ms. Dombrowski, I'd like to...
Oh, before I forget, I do want to let you know, full warning, I do use language. So I just wanted to put that out there for you guys before we continue. Okay? Alright, let's keep going.
ask you a few questions about your and Johnny's childhood. Where did you all grow up?
We were born in Kentucky and we moved to Florida when we were kids.
Who lived in your household with you and Johnny?
Our mom, our dad, we have an older brother and older sister, and Johnny and I.
Oh, well, that answers my question.
Who was the
I
youngest
see
child in your family?
How many
Johnny.
siblings they had?
Would you please tell the jurors what your
So Johnny's the
relationship with
youngest.
Johnny was like when you were growing up?
Johnny and I were very close. With having the older brother and older sister, we were the two younger ones, so we were really close, and we basically were together all the time. We played together. We played Hot Wheels. We, played Batman and Robin, where we each had a role in that.
The good days, guys.
And he's probably going to be
That was
embarrassed
the
by
good
saying
days.
this, but we practiced, karate kicks with each other and chopping. We were just friends. We were like best friends.
What was Johnny like as a young boy?
Objection, Your Honor, 404.
Really? You're going to object to that?
Approach.
Really? We're going to approach over it too? What is this? Why won't my light turn off on my camera? There we go. Now. That was way too bright. Why are we already approaching over this? That doesn't make any sense. have a lot to say about Amber's lawyers. I do have to admit, I don't like Rottenborn. Okay, I don't. I just think that he was the better out of the bunch of them, that's for sure. Definitely the best out of the rest, so. I mean, we already know that Johnny's lawyers are the best. I'm loving his suit. Oh my God, I would so wear that
As
suit.
I was saying, Ms. Dombrowski, what was Johnny like as a little boy?
He was a
Also, I have a cat and a dog as well, so if you hear them, that's them. If you hear stuff in the background, that's them. They like to play, so.
shy, sweet little boy. He had a very caring
Some miniature
personality,
dachshund.
but also he was a little bit of a clown. He loved to, play tricks on us or try to scare us. He was a very typical happy little boy.
Objection, Your Honor. Move to strike 404.
Your Honor, I'm going exactly where I said I was going.
All right, I'll stay in the last part of her answer.
Why?
We'll go forward from there.
Thank you very much, Your Honor. Ms. Dombrowski, how would you describe your parents' relationship?
That was complicated.
Would you please explain to the jury what you mean when you say your parents' relationship was complicated?
Our parents they had two completely different personalities, and where our father was also a very kind, patient, loving, gentle man. And our mom was the opposite. She was very high-strung, very nervous, anxiety, angry. So they were
Damn.
completely opposite people.
What was your mother's first name?
Betty,
Did your mother, Betty, ever get angry with
What's
your father?
his dad's name? Does
Yes.
anybody know? Let me know in the comments if
How
you
would
guys
your
know his
mother
dad's name.
express her anger toward your father?
Mom she would scream, she would yell at him, she would hit him, call him names, that kind of thing.
Did your father ever hit your mother back?
No, Dad never reacted when Mom would hit him or scream at him.
If he didn't hit her back, how, if at all, did he react?
Basically, he would let her scream and get it out or hit and be done. And
Shit.
the way that you dealt with my mom, the way that he dealt with my mom was he always tried to keep the peace, so he never wanted to,
That's me. I'm always trying to keep
he didn't want to
peace.
engage in anything, so he was very, he would step back, and whatever it was that she was angry about, he would try to go ahead and make sure that he took care of whatever she was insisting that he do.
Is it fair to say he did what she wanted?
Yes, it's very fair to say he did.
What, if anything, did you and Johnny do while your mother was hitting or attacking your father?
We would leave the area. We would
If I get
run
100
and
followers,
hide. We would go
I'll
to
show you
our
my
room,
miniature dachshund.
Either we would go to our room together, or
We'll do a
you know,
video on
depending on where
him.
we lived. If our room was close. We would sort of
Actually, if I get
run off and get
100
away from it.
of followers, 150. Let's do 150.
How did your
if I get
mother
150,
treat
I'll show you all the
you
pets I
and your
have.
brothers and sisters?
Well, there's a similarity. I'm sorry, in how she treated Dad. Again, she was very anxious, high-strung. She screamed, she yelled, she hit, she threw things. She called us names. We each had our own little special set of names. Some we wouldn't repeat, but so she gave each one of us a name. My name, for example, was Violet, which to some people it wouldn't seem like it's anything, but Violet was my father's mother, and my mom hated. my father's mother.
Damn.
That was my special name. One of them.
Did your mother
God.
have any special names for Johnny?
Yes, she did. She had a few. Again, some to not repeat. Her favorite, I think, was she called him One Eye. And she called him that because when he was young, the doctors thought he had a lazy eye, so they would put a patch on his good eye so that they would strengthen the other eye. So
Oh my
she
God.
used that as, a way to find a new fun name for him.
How did Johnny respond when your mother would call him One Eye?
He didn't respond in any negative way. Those names were just a way of life. We got used to them. We accepted all of it.
Putting aside the names, did your mother ever get angry with you?
Yes,
Did your mother ever get physical with you?
yes, she did, but I was also very quiet, very shy, and I learned early on to stay back. So I was more in the background because I would constantly sort of stay in the background to stay away from trouble.
Yeah. Makes
Ms. Dabrowski,
sense.
when your mother did get physical with you, what forms
Shit,
did
I
that
would
take?
too if I was in that.
Well, she would hit us. She would throw things.
Put on lipstick real quick. Or lip
She would
gloss.
have us go pick a switch, off of a tree, so that would be what she could.
That's what they
hit us
did back
with,
then.
And make sure that we got one that was.
That's what they did. I
nice
got a
and
fly
green.
swatter.
So that
Why, I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. Why did it have to be nice and green?
well, if it wasn't a nice green twig, it would snap. Those didn't break. If you got a dry one, they snap. They don't.
Yeah, if it wasn't the right one, they would go out and pick it for you. I remember that.
They don't work the same.
Those things hurt.
Did your mother ever get angry at Johnny?
Yes.
I'm not that old,
Did
by the
you
way.
ever observe your mother hitting Johnny?
Yes.
How, if at all, did Johnny react when his mother would hit him?
He was a typical little boy where if it hurt, he would cry. That was it. I mean, for the most part, you just wanted to get away from it.
Did Johnny ever hit his mother back?
No.
What about when he got to be an older boy? Did
I
he
think
ever
he's having
resist or hit her
flashbacks.
back?
No. No. When he was older, even if she hit or threw things,
They went right
he never
into
went
the
to that
deep stuff
place.
at
He
the beginning
always
of
he
this
would
trial,
get
didn't
away.
they?
He would, leave the area, go to his room.
Look at him twiddling his
Ms.
thumbs.
Dombrowski, did there come a time when you left the family household?
Yes.
When did you leave the household?
I left when I was 17. I was pregnant and got married and moved out into my own place.
How did it feel when you left the family to go out and go to your own place?
Freeing, I
I
bet.
think there's a bittersweetness to it.
Yeah, I could
I
understand
was
that.
really young. I had just turned 17.
Yeah.
But I was so looking forward to this new life that I could
Yeah.
create that was different from what we had at home. And so it was a part of me that was really happy to be able to do this, really excited.
But at the same
And
time,
there was
it's
another part that was sad because
it's
I
not
left
home.
behind my little brother and my dad.
That too, yeah. It's not home. Yeah.
If you could explain that a bit, how did, if at all, did your experience with your mother affect your ideas about what you intended to do with your own family?
Oh, really early on, as a young child, none of what was happening in our home felt good. And so as I got older, both Johnny and I actually, we decided that once we had our own home, that we were never going to repeat ever anything similar in any way
I have
to our
ADHD.
childhood.
Sorry. That's why I keep moving
gonna,
around.
We were going to do it different,
So Johnny felt the same way.
absolutely.
When you left the home to start your own family, who among the original 4 children were left at home with your mother?
Johnny,
What's the name of the other
Did there
two
come a
siblings?
time when your parents separated?
yes.
Would you please tell the jury what happened?
There was our father one morning decided to pack up everything and leave early in the morning. We didn't know it at the time. I don't think, but I didn't. I didn't live there. I was at work. And then I got a call from my mom in the afternoon, right after she got off work. She called me, and it was hard to understand her voice. She sounded faint and kind of groggy, but she kept saying, "He's gone, he's gone, he's gone." And I was trying to get out of her, "Was it Dad?" And she said, "Yes,
Shit.
Your daddy." And I said, "Mom, are you okay? What's going on? You know, did you take your pills?" Because she took what she called nerve pills, and she said she had. I asked how many.
I'm laughing
she
because of
couldn't.
Johnny would
tell me how
ask
many
that
she
about
took, but
Amber.
I knew
That's what
she
it
was
reminded me of.
getting fainter on the phone, and it was more clear to me that she was not in a good way. So I called our friend, our parents' friend actually, who was a police officer, and told him that he needed to get to Mom and what was going on, and so he got an ambulance to get over there to her.
And this was after your father left?
Yes, this is the day.
Ms. Dombrowski,
Oh
do
my
you know why
God.
your father left?
I know at the time, because I did try to speak to him after, because Mom continued to not do well. At the time, he said that they had the last argument that he felt that they could ever have. He felt he needed to leave home this time. And to be honest, I didn't really understand. It had been so many years that he had been taking all of the, all of her personality. And I didn't really understand exactly, fully what that last argument was, why it was so intense. We did learn many years later in our adult life that what he was referring to when he said
Motion to
he...
strike all this rumor is hearsay.
I guess the objection's hearsay.
Your Honor, again, I think it's not offered for the proof.
She's gonna
It's offered
sustain it.
for the
I guarantee you she's going to sustain
abuse and
it.
the culture in which.
I'll sustain the objection.
Yep,
Thank
I
you,
knew that
Ellen.
was coming.
Did your mother recover after she took the pills?
Yes. She continued.
Here's the thing. If I was a member of that jury, I would not be able to disregard that testimony. I'm sorry, I can't. I mean, it's once you hear it, it's in. And I think that's what Elaine Bredehoff was trying to do in some of her, in some of the way she was trying to talk to Amberheard, which we'll get to that later. But I don't know. What do you guys think? Would y'all be able to disregard that testimony? You can't forget it. Once it's said, it's out there. It's done.
To not be well, but she recovered.
And after that time, did she ever take more pills than she should have?
She did, but she didn't do it to the degree that she had at that point.
And going back to the incident that you described,
This is going into why Johnny.
do you know
isn't
where Johnny was at the time your mother
This is
took
why.
those pills?
This is going into Johnny and
Johnny was
his
home.
substance abuse.
Did there
I think
come
he
a
was-
time,
I'm
oh,
sorry.
excuse me,
I'm sorry. I think he was sleeping at the time. I think he woke up when Mom came out and the ambulance came.
So he saw all of that?
Yes.
Objection, foundation.
They're
he see-
laying the foundation.
That? She said,
Well,
she testified he was in the home.
He was in the home, but was she in the home? I guess, how did she know? So I'll sustain to foundation.
Thank you. Did there come a time when Johnny left his mother's house?
Yes.
And after Johnny, what did Johnny do when he left the house?
Objection, foundation.
All right, I'll sustain his foundation if you want to lay a
She-
foundation.
Were you in communication with your brother at the time?
Yes. He came and lived with me for part of the time.
So I think that. So what did your brother do after he left your mother's house?
He lived in different places. He lived with me and he lived with another family.
Did you and Johnny continue to communicate with your mother Betty after you both left the home?
Yes. Yes, we did.
And after what you have described, why did you and Johnny continue to communicate with your mother?
Objection, foundation is Johnny.
I think she's already laid the foundation. They're
Yeah.
very close. She was in communication.
I'll sustain the objection for this particular question.
God, rotten
Why
boy.
did you continue to communicate with your mother?
Because she was our mom and we loved her.
Yeah.
I mean, we knew, even when we were
It's
younger,
still
that
your
things
mom.
weren't. They didn't feel right, But what we understood was that, Mom had her own upbringing, so she had her own past, and
Yes.
the way she was raised would affect the way she lived.
Right. It does all of us.
And so she, in our mind, she was doing the best she could do.
Right.
We sort of treated it like she did the best that she could do with the tools that she was given,
Right. Right.
from her life in the past.
We all
and
try to do our best.
What we decided to do was we just decided to get new tools. We chose different tools from
Right.
that.
Yeah.
And when you say we, to whom are you referring?
I'm referring to Johnny.
Objection, foundation is
I'll overrule that objection. All right, next question.
Thank you, Ron. Did you ever live with your mother again
Johnny,
after
like,
you and Johnny had left the house?
Shut up, man.
I did live with her briefly. She had gotten diagnosed with asthma when we lived in Florida, and she needed to move to a drier climate. So Johnny moved her to California, to Palm Springs for the drier weather. And I moved also so that she wouldn't be alone. So I lived with her for a period then.
Okay.
And if you could just please elaborate on what role, if any, Johnny played in your mother's move to Palm Springs.
He was the only reason the move could happen. He purchased her a home and
Yeah.
and paid to have everything there.
Did there come a time when your mother ever left Palm Springs?
She moved from Palm Springs to be a bit closer to where Johnny and I lived in the LA area. She lived there for a bit, and then ultimately she went back to Kentucky. She had her siblings were still there, and a couple of them weren't doing well, so she wanted to be closer to them while she could.
And after she moved back to Kentucky from Palm Springs, did there come a time when your mother became chronically ill?
Yes,
When was that?
2011.
Would you please describe briefly what her health condition was as of 2011?
In 2011, she was living in Kentucky, and we received a call that she had been diagnosed with
I bet it's cancer.
the final stages of Parkinson's.
Oh, Parkinson's. Oh,
But
shit.
then when another doctor looked at her scans, they felt it was something different. So we had the scans brought to a doctor in California, and they suggested that she come out and see a neurologist right away.
Yeah.
So Johnny got a plane a private plane, and he and we flew to go pick her up and bring her back to California to start seeing the doctors.
Yeah.
And when she moved back in 2011 to California, was that a permanent move?
Oh gosh, look at him.
It became basically a permanent move. She still had her house in Kentucky in the hopes of, her being.
Here's the thing. I'm the type of person that really likes to observe people. I like to observe their behaviors, what they're doing, their like how they're dressed, stuff like that. That's just who I am. That's what I like to do. And here's what I'm noticing, and I hope you guys notice this too. I mean, I'm sure y'all did, but for me, I'm noticing a lot of different things that I hadn't noticed before. Johnny is showing a lot of empathy, talking about his mom and trauma and stuff like that. I haven't seen Amber yet, but a lot of the stuff, the way Amber was acting, it just, I couldn't really believe her, because Johnny is showing more of what an empath shows when something is bothering them or something is upsetting them, if that makes sense. So, and obviously he's like deeply affected, and he absolutely loved his mother. Even though she was cruel and all that to him, it's still his mother. That's the thing. And I would be the same way if that was my mom too. If I was in that situation, I would still love her, and I would take care of her the way Johnny did. As simple as that.
Being able
Yeah.
to go back and forth. But her health basically kept her in California, so she lived here, or there.
And by that time, 2011, when she's moved out to Los Angeles, had her treatment of you and Johnny changed in any way?
Yes, mom softened as she aged. She totally softened.
And once your mother moved to Los Angeles permanently in 2011, what role, if any, did your brother Johnny play in her caretaking?
Objection, foundation.
Oh my God.
All right, I'll sustain as a foundation.
He's trying to.
To what extent, if any, did your brother play any role?
What if any?
I think that's still a foundation objection.
Do you have knowledge of whether your brother had any role in her caretaking?
Yes.
There you go.
Would you please explain to the jury, because I think Her Honor needs to hear whether there's a foundation.
Okay, I'm sorry. Yes, when we brought Mom out, over time, she had multiple other illnesses that came up, and
Oh, man, that
Johnny he dealt directly with the doctors like we did.
Yeah.
Hired private nurses so that we could make sure that Mom was taken care of.
Yeah, sure.
He basically, Johnny was he took all financial responsibility for anything and everything that Mom could need or want during this time. All medical
He can't
care,
even look
doctors,
up
hospitals,
because
nurses.
that's how much
How
is
do you
affecting
know
him
that?
right now.
I was directly involved.
Is it fair to say you saw Johnny do those things and have those interactions?
Yes, I was there. I was directly involved in all of that.
Did you witness your brother having any interactions with the doctors relating to your mother's care?
Yes.
How often, if at all, did your brother visit your mother, Betty, after she came to live in Los Angeles in 2011?
Objection, foundation.
Oh God! Every time I hear
Were
that
you
chair
ever
squeak, I
present,
know he's going to get up and
with your
object.
brother and your mother when
It's
you
like
all were
at this
visiting?
point, that chair is like a
Yes,
trigger. Like, oh God, here he comes.
Mom lived in a house that was basically across the street from Johnny. It was a house that he has on his street, and I was there, quite a bit. Johnny was pretty much down there every day, a couple times a day. Mom, like, she would see them all the time. One of her favorite things was watching Johnny take the kids to school and waving at them because she never got to do that before. So
Yeah.
Who were your brother's kids?
Lily Rose and Jack.
I love
We'll get
that
to
name,
that a
Lily
little
Rose.
in a little bit. Did there come a time when the family
He
was
named Jack
considering
after pirates,
putting your
didn't he?
mother in a hospice?
There was there were conversations with the doctors that we should start to consider that, since we weren't 100% sure with the variety of conditions that she had, what we needed to do. The idea of hospice
That's a rough time.
was something that felt like, since we didn't know a time frame, the idea of introducing new nurses or something, at a certain point in someone's life where they recognize there's a difference, and that could be frightening for them. So we didn't want to instill any fear. Johnny's big on mom not having fear. So instead, that's when we hired nurses, so that the nurses could be there 24/7. And and she would have people continuously throughout her life that she knew that they were friendly and cared for.
Did you actually have a conversation
Ooh, I
with your
love that
brother
bracelet,
about the
that red and that
possibility
teal.
of your mother going into hospice?
Yes,
Did he express an opinion about it?
yes. Well, this is where it all comes from, because the idea of hospice, which is an amazing thing, but for someone who, when you don't know, with the variety of illnesses,
Johnny is so
you don't know what a
hot.
timing is. The idea of introducing it, new people, is something that becomes almost a signal, and this was a very big discussion. This is why the nurses were hired.
Was this just one discussion, or was it a series of discussions?
Objection, false pretense.
There's that chair squeak
I'm
again.
not asking for hearsay, I'm just asking about whether it was discussed once or a number of.
I'll overrule the objection. Go ahead.
Thank
Was,
you.
was this just one discussion, or were there more discussions among you and your brother about how to best care for your mother?
We had continuous discussions. As a matter of fact, I mean, there were daily updates. He knew every day everything that was happening with mom. Whether he was in town, out of town because he was working or traveling, I made sure, because it's hard when you know that someone wants to be there and they can't. So I made sure to fill him in on everything.
It's not offered for the truth of it.
No, I'll overrule the objection. Go ahead.
Chair squeak.
Did you ever see Johnny's children, Jack and Lily Rose, over at your mother's house across the street from Mr. Depp?
Yes.
That was my dog and my cat.
Ms. Dabrowski, I'd like to change subjects right now, if that's all right, and ask you to please tell us a little bit about your work life.
Knocked over
Did there
the
come a
ironing board.
time when you worked in the entertainment industry?
Yes. I started working when we moved from Florida to Palm Springs. This is why I lived for a short period with my mom. I got a job at one of the studios in Los Angeles.
Which studio was that?
It was Columbia Pictures. My title was, I was an executive assistant to the executive vice president of comedy development.
And what were your job responsibilities when you started there?
I handled my executives' daily schedule, meetings, budgets, scripts, phone calls, and then in addition to that, we had there were 4 other executives, and they had assistants. So my desk was also to oversee those assistants, and when we had writers come in, I oversaw those assistants.
That'd be an awesome
Sounds
and
like a
kick-ass
big
job.
job.
It was a good job.
How long did you work at Columbia Pictures Television in that role?
I think it was about a year and a half.
Why did you leave after a year and a half?
Columbia itself started folding different departments, and our comedy development being one of them. And so some of the employees that worked there went to work for Sony or TriStar, other sort of arms of the corporation.
Yeah.
And I was the last one there, sort of wrapping up the department to go on to my next job.
So after you wrapped up the transition, the closing up of the department, what did you do in terms of your work life?
I went to work with my brother.
In what capacity? When you say your brother, to whom
I'm
are you
sorry.
referring?
I'm sorry?
I'm sorry, when you say your brother, to whom are you specifically referring?
I went to work with my brother Johnny.
What type of things did you do for your brother Johnny?
Similar things to what I was doing with the other boss that I worked for before, but with Johnny, he was, I was helping him anyway as a sister, bits and pieces before I started working with him. So there were things like travel and, meetings, setting meetings, making sure he had his, the scripts that were coming in and he knew, all the information about
God,
them.
that'd be so much fun to do.
And,
That would be so
any kind of
much
publicity
fun.
stuff that he had to do. Because I really started to do this job with him because there was one time that I had gone to his house and I was helping him get ready to go on a trip, and his ticket, I read it out loud and it said standby. And I said, why are you on standby? He had no one looking out for that kind of stuff, so I did all of that.
Wow.
How, if at all, did your work for your brother change over time?
Well, over time, it sort of grew. Well, not sort of, it did grow. His agent, I worked sort of hand in hand with his agent, and, as she got to know me more and I got to know her more, there were other parts of her job, actually, that she would give to me. So, instead of just doing scheduling meetings and calendars.
So they
and
work
travel,
together, basically, yeah.
Now I become a person who's talking to producers, or, as it expands,
That would be
all
an
the
awesome
executives at the
job.
studios.
I mean,
and
Christy's
studio
got an
heads,
awesome
and I
background.
become a part of contract negotiation, etc. It just grew.
What role, if any, did you play in dealing with Johnny's movie contracts?
Movie contracts,
Okay, this is setting the foundation for Pirate 6.
because I know the history, and because there's a certain amount of parts of life that are important, to a human being, not just to an actor, but to a human being. And I know the human being. I was part of mostly negotiating parts like there's an area called perks, and perks means anything and everything that an actor would need in order to perform his duties, and in order
Okay.
to to also move right to the location to do the duty. So I was part of all important dates that needed to be considered in a calendar, making sure the house was what he needed to have for the family, the travel to get there, making sure he had his staff, drivers, security, pretty much anything necessary was in that.
Ms. Dombrowski, can you give the jury some examples of some of the things you put on the perks list?
Sure. It was really important. As Johnny had a family, it was really important to be able to.
Oh,
make
she's
sure that
wearing
we,
some of the same bracelets he is.
We're given the opportunity to
Did y'all
find the
see
right
that?
accommodations, and the accommodations for the children. A house that
Oh, he's
that,
rocking those glasses.
Give them a home away from home with a garden.
Different pair of
the travel,
glasses.
Make sure that they all get there. There were really important dates that we carved out in every contract. For Johnny's kids, for their birthday, he never wanted to miss their birthday. So if he wasn't able to be with them because of filming, it was built into the contract that he had their birthday off, and he would have the day before and the day after, so that he'd be able to travel to get to them and then get back to working. So in addition to that, I mean, there's quite a bit. We also had it built in that if he was to be away from his kids filming, if the kids couldn't travel and the family couldn't travel to be there, we had in his contract that he would be able to fly back to them from wherever he is every 2 weeks. So he didn't go beyond every 2 weeks not seeing his children. You know, it's that kind of stuff that, you know, was important.
Ms. Dombrowski, do you know what a personal manager is in the context of the entertainment world?
I do.
What is it, if you could explain it to the jury, because I just learned it myself.
Well, I believe it's basically what a lot of what I was doing. They work with their client on maintaining different items in their personal life, as well as projects coming in, production, all of the representatives. It's sort of a big scope of duties.
Yeah.
Has anyone ever referred to you as Johnny's personal manager?
I have been called that before, yes.
Do you perform the responsibilities of being Johnny's personal manager?
I did.
Do you still work with Johnny?
Yes.
Do you also work with any of Johnny's companies? Or strike that. Does your brother have any companies associated with him?
He has a production company called Infinitum Nile.
What type of company
I looked
is
into that.
Infinitum Nile?
It's a production company.
They have a
We
website.
develop
Y'all should check
projects,
out.
for films or television or different things.
And putting aside your responsibilities as your brother's personal managers, what role, if any, do you play in Infinitum Nile?
I'm president of Infinitum Nile.
When did you start working at Infinitum Nile?
So he
From
started it, and she's
beginning,
the CEO.
In 2004. I think we started in July 2004.
And would you please explain to the jury some of your responsibilities as president of Infinitum Nile?
My duties as president were I oversaw everything within the company, the staff where we were developing projects, where, maybe there's a book that people want to develop into a film or a TV show or different ideas. So I oversaw that, all of the development, their schedules with meetings with different people to take those projects out, to pitch. There's so many tasks to that job. I don't know how to really lay them out.
Ms. Dombrowski, when did the first Pirates of the Caribbean movie come out?
Okay, here we
I
go.
think it was 2003. I think.
What was your brother's role in Pirates?
He was Captain Jack Sparrow.
My man.
Fair to say that was the lead?
That was
The lead, yes.
How did the first Pirates of the Caribbean movie fare at the box office?
It was really good.
It
did
did very
really
well.
great.
I think it surprised people.
Yeah.
And did very well.
It did.
People really
I remember when it came
they
out.
loved they loved the entertainment of it. The total ride.
Yeah.
Did the success of Pirates 1 change Johnny's career in any way?
Yeah.
I would have to say yes. The success of Pirates 1, it became Johnny, with that role and other studios and everybody seeing the success of that film and how the audiences reacted to that character. There was a whole lot more people wanting to be in business with him.
And did the success of Pirates 1 change his personal life in any way? Or his day-to-day life?
It did. Because where prior to that, he able to go out somewhat. He could, go to different stores, go to bookstores, go to restaurants. When Pirates 1 came out, after that, he was much more recognizable now. So many people loved that character, and so he was much more recognizable. So it became harder for him to go out in public without having a lot of people come around that, rightfully so, wanted to meet him. And but then it also became really big, and so we had even people that were chasing in cars. So we had to, at that point, we had to get security team to kind of come in and help us manage how this all works.
Who is Jerry Judge?
Jerry Judge was basically Johnny's head security.
When did Jerry Judge start coming to work with your brother?
Well, we started working with Jerry Judge back in the 90s.
Wow, I didn't know it was that far out.
In London. And
in London?
when we would go over there for press or premieres or whatever, Jerry was the one, that set everything up. And we became really close with him back then. And
Wow.
as things grew with Pirates, we brought him over more and more, for some of the items that we had, some of the work that he had, if it was a show or whatever, and brought him on. And then he started just working basically on every film with us after Pirates, probably right around that time.
How long did Jerry Judge work with you and Johnny?
Well, again, we met him in the 90s, so and around Pirates is 2003? And Jerry was with us up until we lost him.
When did you lose him?
We lost him a couple of years ago to cancer.
Oh.
What was Jerry's relationship like with Johnny?
Objection Foundation.
Oh, come on.
Did you
Shut
ever
up, Rotten
see
Boy.
Jerry Judge interact with
Rotten
your brother?
Boy.
Sustain the objection. That's the next question. That's fine.
Thank
All right,
you,
go
Your Honor. What, if any, observations were there any times when you saw your brother interact with Jerry Judge?
I saw the two of them interact quite a lot, and they loved each other. They were like, Jerry thought of him as his like a son, and sometimes as a brother. They really did love each other, and so
I heard
much
that chair
respect
squeak.
both ways.
Move to strike all of that.
Ah,
I don't think there's any basis to strike that. I think it was most responsive.
Yeah.
I'll overrule the objection. Go ahead.
thank
Thank you,
you.
Your Honor.
Sit down, Rotten
And
Boy.
I wanted to touch on something you mentioned a few moments ago when you were referring to Mr. Depp's children. I believe you said it was daughter Lily Rose and
Son
Jack. Who is the mother of Johnny's children?
Vanessa Paradis.
Did Johnny and Vanessa Paradis ever live together as a couple?
Yes.
How long did Johnny and Vanessa Paradis live together as a couple?
I think they were together 14 years. I think.
And did their children live with them during the 14 years?
Yes.
How much time would you say you spent with Johnny, Vanessa, Lily Rose, and Jack?
When they were in Los Angeles, I would say I saw them all daily. Our office, where we work, our office
Okay.
was only 10 minutes from their house, so I would make trips back and forth, or every day after work, I would go straight to the house. So I saw them daily.
Would you please explain to the jury what it was like spending time with Johnny and his family?
It was great.
I'm
It
sure.
was great. It was a normal, happy
What we wouldn't give for that,
family,
right?
You go there and the kids are playing and, making dinner, everybody having dinner, cleaning up together, sitting around, laughing. It was great.
Yeah.
Did you have occasion to see your brother interact with his children?
Yes. Yes, I did.
What did
Obviously.
you observe? What can you tell the jury about what you observed?
I'm proud to say, he's one of the most devoted fathers I think that I've ever seen. Like everything in life was about the children, but when he was with the kids, like the attention that he would give them, you know, it was just constant, playing with them, listening to them, you know, laughing with them, reading to them, Barbies, I mean, you name it. And he
That's
was there.
awesome.
Did you ever observe Johnny treating his children the way you saw his mother treat him when
No.
he was young?
No,
Okay.
Have you ever seen Johnny hit either of his children?
no,
Okay.
Have you ever heard your brother raise his voice at his children?
no,
Okay.
You may have touched on it earlier, and if so, I apologize. But how, if at all, did Johnny communicate with his children when he was shooting a film?
Objection, foundation.
Were you
All right, I'll
with-
sustain the objection if you want to lay a foundation.
Did, fair, understood. Did you have occasion to observe? Were you ever with your brother when he was shooting a film?
yes,
Did you have occasion to observe your brother communicating with his children while you both were there on set?
yes, yes.
So
When-
with that,
I'm
please
sorry.
please go ahead.
When, excuse me, when Johnny was filming, most of the time, the family was with him. The family would travel and go, you know, it was like I said earlier, we would get a house and garden and all of that to make sure that there was a home. So his family was with him most of the time.
What about when the children got older and they started going to school? Did that change in any way?
It changed in that they didn't want to disrupt the children's lives when they were going to school. So if dad had to go off and go work and the children stayed home, this is where we get into, we still maintained a home for the family wherever he was filming, you know, because they would, if they had the opportunity to come back and forth. But at the same time, Johnny would travel back every 2 weeks, you know, to see his kids.
And when you say he would travel back, who was it who made those travel arrangements?
I was checking
I
my
made the
dog.
travel
Make
arrangements.
sure he wasn't chewing on anything he wasn't supposed to be.
Did you have occasion to observe Johnny interact with the mother of his children, Vanessa Paradis, over the 14 years they were together?
Yes, I did.
Would you please
Here we
tell
go.
the jury what you observed about the interactions between Mr. Depp and Vanessa?
You would-
404, Your Honor.
This is directly relevant.
I'll allow observations. I'll overrule the objection.
Thank you very much, Your Honor. What did you observe about Mr. Depp's interactions with the mother of his children?
They were a great couple. I mean, first you could see that they were friends. They were happy together. They got along great. It was a happy, normal
Move to
couple.
strike.
I'll sustain the objection at this point then.
Thank you.
All right.
I didn't even hear him do that.
Did you ever hear your brother yell at Vanessa?
No,
Objection.
This is part of the case.
It's not leading.
404.
To what extent, if any, have
Well, that wasn't the question, Mr. Chair.
404 is the main objection.
Okay. I'll sustain on that objection. Next question.
what, if any, violence did you observe
There it goes.
between?
2.
I'll go ahead. Finish your question first.
Well, if I
Two.
think you're going to sustain the objection, perhaps I should read.
Maybe we should move on. Yes.
Okay. All right. Did Vanessa ever claim that Johnny ever physically abused
3.
her?
Objection,
No.
foundation, calls for hearsay.
All right. Hearsay objection.
And 404.
It's not offered for the proof of the.
Ben, if I were
It's
you, I
what
would
she
go and
observed,
approach and talk to
what
the
she heard.
judge.
She was the personal manager, Your Honor.
That would be hearsay. I'll sustain the objection. Thank you.
Oh my God.
Did there come a time when Johnny and Vanessa separated after 14 years?
Yes.
How would you describe their relationship today?
Same objection
Four.
All right.
and calls for hearsay as well, and foundation.
I don't think it calls for hearsay, Your Honor. She's his
I
sister.
understand, but it's a character evidence issue, so I'll sustain the objection.
Oh my
Who is
God.
Amber Heard?
My brother's ex-wife.
When did you first meet Amber Heard?
I first met her when she came to the office for casting on Rum Diary, probably late 2008.
Okay, so I'm going to stop it here and going to go to part 2. Because in the next video we'll look at Christy, what she thinks about Amber Heard, which we already know, but I haven't seen it that much. So I'm going to stop it here. A couple things that I wanted to put out there about what I'm going to be streaming, as far as what I'm going to be streaming on the on my YouTube. And also I'm going to try to stream on Twitch as well. So, I mean, I already have a Twitch account and everything set up. But one of the things, I've got some surprises coming up of things that I'm going to start streaming soon. I'm not going to tell y'all yet, but as time gets closer, I will let you guys know. And if we can get to 1,000 subscribers, we will be doing giveaways. So, on that note, I'm going to be streaming, so the things that I'm going to be streaming, and I apologize, I'm all over the place. I have ADHD, so it's hard to, it's always da-da-da-da-da. Anyway, so the things that I am going to be streaming, I'm going to try and do an episode a day of the Johnny Depp trial. And then I'm also going to be streaming Fortnite. I love Fortnite. I am obsessed with it. And then I'm going to be doing, I'm going to try to hook up some Nintendo Switch games so that we can play those together as well. I also have some nostalgia games in mind that y'all probably have heard of back, in the early 2000s. So I'm going to post those probably in the next couple months. Because like I said, we're still getting everything set up and everything. But, yeah, I have Animal Crossing, Mario. I mean, I've got a lot of Nintendo Switch games that we are going to go through as well. And then, we're going to expand. There's a big surprise coming up in next couple months that I'm really excited about. And that's going to be that is going to be the majority of my content for a while, is that surprise. And I will reveal that on December 25th. Yes, I will release that on, or let's not do the 25th. Let's do the week of Christmas. I'll do it at the week of Christmas because that's going to be a huge announcement. And we're going to try to work with some giveaways about that kind of stuff. So, anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed. Really curious to see what Christy says about Amber, because I haven't seen this of her. So, but here in the next couple of hours, I am probably going to be doing some more videos of Fortnite and go from there. So anyways, thanks so much for watching. Yours always, Foster Princess. Love you guys. Bye.